This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Hello and welcome to Midco Sports Magazine. 3 stories this month on the power of persistence. We have a power lifter from Sioux Falls who thrives in a world where you have a world record one day, lose it the next, and have to pump yourself up and go after it all over again. His story is coming up later. We have a drag racer from Rapid City. She has more than 70 wins and she's only 21 years old. And we start with another young woman from Dickinson, North Dakota. From the time she was a little girl in California, she loved running and she carried that passion with her to Dickinson State University until a tragic incident left her unable to run. Here's Greg Ankers with the story.
To see Margaret Martinez running is nothing short of amazing. She's fighting a battle to stay on the track that derailed her more than 3 years ago. Margaret grew up in Bakersfield, California, where she began running track as a freshman in high school. The shorter distances were more appealing to her, but her natural abilities led her into longer distances and cross-country races.
I feel like I kind of knew that I could be good at it just because I remember it wasn't hard, it was just tiring. I liked running, I liked doing the mile until this one girl was faster than I was, because I used to be the fastest girl in the class, and then this girl beat me. I was just like, oh, I don't want to run anymore.
But running didn't give up on Margaret. She kept at it in college, starting out at Bakersfield Junior College in her hometown before transferring 1,800 miles away to Valley City State in North Dakota.
I knew I wanted to keep running after Bakersfield, after 2 years. So I was like, well, if I can run 4 years at one school, then I'm gonna take it.
Her time in Valley City was short-lived. After redshirting freshman year, Margaret transferred to Dickinson State, a conference rival 200 miles west on I-94. Anxious for a fresh start, Margaret set her sights on the cross-country season in the fall of 2012. Hoping to make a strong first impression, however, she struggled in her first race for the Blue Hawks, finishing 34th of 51 racers.
I cried after my first race that year. I hated how I did.
Now, looking forward to redemption, her second run would come 2 weeks later at the notorious Roy Griak Invitational at the University of Minnesota. But on September 27th, on the eve before traveling with her team for that event, Margaret's running career and life would take an unexpected turn on her way to work at the recreation center on campus.
It was nighttime. It's almost 8 o'clock. I remember just seeing headlights on the street just kind of getting brighter and brighter and bigger as I was walking. Like, as soon as I realized that, I got kind of scared, and I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this car is not going to stop. I kind of remember jumping back a little bit, and then that's all I remember from the hit. I woke up, I just saw a lot of people around me. As soon as I tried getting up, just shock of pain went down from my neck all the way to my toes, and I just kind of screamed.
When paramedics arrived on the scene, the initial prognosis was not good.
He just looked down at me and he just told some other person, he's like, yep, her leg is definitely broken. And as soon as he said that, I just started bawling.
Margaret was rushed to the ER in Dickinson when the reality of the damage began to sink in.
It was like, what's going on? I was like, can I run? Can I run? I just kept asking over and over, and I remember no one was answering my questions, and I was just getting really frustrated, and I was crying. And one of the girls finally looked at me, and she kind of just grabbed my hand, and she's like, you're not going to be able to run anymore.
In addition to a broken femur, Margaret also sustained a laceration to her liver and a cut on her head. She was taken 100 miles down the road to Bismarck for surgery. There, doctors put a rod in her leg, and the reality for recovery began with only a small glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
He said that I could probably go back to running, but he said it was going to take a lot of work and a lot of time, and I shouldn't have too many expectations. And after that, it was just I didn't really know what to do, because I had transferred all the way over here to run, and I had already had setbacks the year before, and And then it happening that following year, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be running anymore. So it kind of sucked too, because it was so early in the year that I didn't really know anybody. I knew my teammates, but I hadn't really grown a connection with any of them.
It was time for some family support. Margaret's mom came to help take care of her, but both of them would quickly realize this was not going to be a quick turnaround.
I probably felt pain maybe for a good month before I started really dealing with it. I told myself I could get better by track season, which was impossible. But that's what I told myself. So I would push myself in my room and I'd start walking a little bit. And I remember posting on Facebook, I took 3 steps today, so happy.
Those steps would lead back to running, a major accomplishment in early June the following year on National Running Day.
I was so happy that I was able to even go at a faster speed than walking. And then I remember I had to stop before I got back, and I just kind of limped my way back. But I was just happy I ran 25 minutes. It had been the most since I had ran in forever. And I didn't really care how slow it was. I didn't care how much it was. It was the fact that I had improved and that I was doing what they said I wouldn't be able to do.
But Margaret's desire to rejoin her teammates would have another setback. The rod in her leg limited her running and was a nuisance during the cold winter months. She decided to have the rod removed and start rehab all over again. Little did Margaret know, though, that lightning was about to strike twice.
They told me I shouldn't be scared, that my bone was strong, it was healthy. But I remember them telling me, if the rod's in there, your bone's not going to break again. You don't have to worry. But if we take the rod out, it is possible that it can break again if you do get into another injury like that. Which, first off, I thought it was impossible. I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to get hit again. And I did get hit again. It wasn't as bad, it was just kind of a little hit. It threw me backwards, I kind of spun and I caught myself before I hit the ground. I was just happy I was alive. And I was crying, I was scared.
Scared, but undeterred, Margaret continued working her way back for the cross-country season a year ago and accomplished what was thought to be unimaginable. She ran in the opening race of the season at Minnesota State Moorhead, and she hasn't looked back since.
And when I crossed, I was just happy. I was so happy I had finished. I was told I might not be able to do it again. I was constantly told by myself that I couldn't do it anymore. And the fact that I had finished was just the best feeling that day. I know I've changed a lot. I've gained fear crossing streets, but I feel like I've gained a lot of courage doing other things. And the most that's changed, I think, I believe in myself a lot more than I used to. It's kind of nice knowing that I did have a second chance and I did get something good out of all of this, because I always seen it as something bad, and now I've seen it as something good, something positive. So I'm almost thankful to the driver that hit me sometimes.
It's Greg Anchors. Good story, my man. And this is her second year now of competing since she came back from this accident, right? Are her times now kind of catching up with her determination in this?
Probably not where she ultimately wants them to be, but it's been quite a progress for her. Last year, she finished out in around the 21.5-minute range. This year, in her first race this fall, she ran it in 17:26. So she shaved off more than 4.5 minutes of her time from last year to this year. Incredible story for Margaret, and we hope that it continues for her.
Very cool. Greg Anchors. Well, up next, a young drag racer who has stuck with her sport through thick and thin. She's 21 and has been doing this for more than 10 years already. Her story coming up.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Jo Ellingson is a young woman from Rapid City, South Dakota. She's 21 years old, but she's already been drag racing for more than 11 years and won more than 70 times, and that would be a good story in itself, but she has also not let a bad accident on the track slow her down. Here's Carla Mets with the story.
Young girls fall in love with Disney movies for their fairy tales and happily ever afters. But one Rapid City girl was drawn to Disney for another reason: drag racing. "21-year-old Carly Jo Ellingson's happily ever after involves getting behind a wheel and on a track."
I started racing when I was 9 years old, and I found out about drag racing because of the Disney Channel original movie Right on Track about Erica and Courtney Enders. It was my favorite movie for many, many years.
At the age of 9, Carly only knew she was infatuated with the sport, but had no idea that her wish to race would become a reality until her dad, Kerry, asked a simple question.
My dad noticed how interested I was in racing, and he just asked me, "Do you want to do that?" And of course I said yeah.
She got pretty fired up about that, and I really enjoyed it. And I guess it wasn't too much longer, and we had her in a car.
For all of his life, he's been into cars. He's always been kind of a gearhead, and when he saw that I was interested in something automotive related, he kind of jumped at it.
Kerry didn't watch his daughter compete from the stands, but made sure he was right by her side on the track.
My dad is my crew chief, and he is awesome. I trust him with absolutely everything. He takes care of the car, he's taught me a lot about the car, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Carly's always had the advantage of having her family's support, but there were no head starts in learning the sport because drag racing isn't about the fastest time.
They stagger the lights so that the slower car gets a little bit of a head start, but that's what bracket racing is, and I really, really like bracket racing. I mean, index racing is fun too, so it's a heads-up race and both cars leave at the same time. That's always fun, but I think it's really, really fun when you're up against slower and faster cars and you have to keep track of where they are and just barely stay ahead of them.
Throughout the years, Carly progressed through junior drag racers.
I started out in the slowest class, and that was a 1290 index, and when I turned, I think, 11, I bumped up to a quicker time, and then 13, I bumped up to the quickest time that junior dragsters are allowed to run.
But Carly didn't just progress through classes, she took them by storm. She won over 70 races in the junior dragsters class with one national event championship. She also won 6 events in the pro and super pro classes.
She was making 200 to 240 passes a year, so if you add that up over 10 years, she's had over 2,000 hits at the tree, and she's gotten pretty good at it.
Although drag racing isn't about the fastest time, high speeds are very much a part of the sport. As speeds increased with each class, so did safety concerns.
I kind of thought, what in the world am I doing, put my daughter in a car this fast, because it was definitely an eye-opener. But the first year we ran about 10.3, 10.2, somewhere in that area. It's still a pretty quick car. She'd be going 125 to 130 miles an hour. And then gradually we worked our way up. Now she's down into the mid-9s, going 140.
However, the fear of what if was rarely thought about until the day of the wreck. In one of Carly's first weekends out in 2013, just a week before her high school graduation, she and other drivers were warned that the racetrack was not in the best shape. Together, the Ellingsons agreed to slow the car down to accommodate for the track's conditions. But as Carly took off in her first run, Kerry noticed the car becoming unsteady. Carly quickly made the needed corrections and everything looked normal again, until the car lost traction.
Before you know it, she was sideways, headed for the wall. It was a terrible feeling seeing the bottom of the car. Sorry, it was a little emotional for me.
Remarkably, Carly walked away with only a few bruises and a stiff neck. And while it would have been easy to quit after confronting the real risk of racing, all Carly could think about was getting back behind the wheel.
I want to be in the driver's seat. There was no question about it. I just wanted to get back into the seat.
It was never a question about if, it was just when.
Since the wreck, Carly has gotten back to her winning ways, even securing a $50,000 sponsorship from the Champion Spark Plug Search for a Champion contest. As crew chief, Carrie has watched an aspiring 9-year-old transform into a sponsored drag racer. But as the driver's dad, he's watched her become an inspiration to himself and to others.
She's a very good racer. Very proud of her. I wish I was half that good.
What I ultimately am aiming for is a professional career in NHRA drag racing. So as a stepping stone, we're going to go to more divisional events. We did make it to Great Bend, Kansas at the beginning of this summer, and that was a huge learning experience. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm really excited to hit some more of those divisionals within the next couple of years and hopefully go to some national events.
Disney may have influenced her interest in racing, but it's her passion that keeps her going.
Like, your mind gets really quiet and you just bump into the lights and wait for everything to happen. And as soon as you see the third amber, it's like, it's time. You gotta go.
And joined by Carla Mets. And you talked a little bit in the story about this huge sponsorship that she really had to do a lot of work to go out and get, didn't she?
Yeah, she entered the Champion Spark Plug Search for a Champion contest, and she really had to learn how to market herself. She had to create her own video, create a social media presence, and she did really well, went through a couple of rounds and ended up coming out on top with that $50,000 sponsorship.
All right, thanks a lot. Carla Mets. When we come back, a power lifter with the power of persistence. He is unbelievably strong and keeps going back to the bench to set and reset national and world records.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Finally this month we have a story on a power lifter from Sioux Falls who could bench press me and my brother and my other brother and my sister and my mother all at the same time, literally. He's a former college football player at Northwestern in Iowa, and he keeps setting and resetting national and world records.
My name is Jona Leo. I'm from Dannebrog, Nebraska. I now reside in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I am a competitive powerlifter. I kind of got hooked by the bug fairly early as a 14-year-old and haven't looked back since then. To date, I was a 4-time state high school powerlifting champion, 6-time South Dakota state powerlifting champion. I'm a 3-time national champion and a 1-time world champion. I've owned the world record 4 different times in the International Powerlifting Federation. The heaviest poundages I've dealt with in the past year, I've had over 900 pounds in my hands, probably 24 times. In competition level, the highest I've succeeded is an 854 for a bench press. A lot of people look at the pure muscular and the pure moving of weight. There's so much more to it. There's technical, you gotta be very efficient, you gotta be very good in your movements. And the other part of it is honing in like your central nervous system, the way the weight feels, the way you handle it. There are days I come in and simple weights will feel heavy. And I know that's a time to back off. And I'll mark it down in the training log. And then I'll go ahead and turn around, and my next 12-week adjustment, I'll look at what I'd done, what led me to that state, and how I'm gonna rectify it. In the sport of powerlifting, within each discipline, so within bench press, you have 3 attempts. Once you select a weight, you cannot go back down from that weight. So your first attempt should be something you can handle. Second attempt, you are at the world level, you're really trying to gauge with your competitors. And third attempt, you're hoping you're in position for that gold. Yeah, you know, that's the best thing that happened to me was losing last year. It took target off my back. But then the other end, when you have that gold, someone comes in and takes it, it creates that perfect competitive environment. Snaps you back to reality and brings you into the game. I love winning, but even more so, I hate losing. There's only been 17 athletes in basically the history of the International Powerlifting Federation to win gold for the United States in bench press in the open division, and there's only been about 6 repeat multi-champions, so I want to get in that group. My ultimate goal is to continue doing this, continue hopefully training, competing at a high level, long enough that my children are able to see it. My youngest is 2 right now, so I think I got a few more years to hold on before they really can remember it and cherish it. But that's the ultimate goal, is just continue going. And there's a lot of lessons to learn as far as sportsmanship and competing at this level that I really want my children to be able to see. One of the things that one of my mentors I discussed, Bill Gillespie, told me that I need to really savor this moment. You know, because when it's gone, it's gone, and I got to savor the fact of having something to train for. And what a great purpose, you know, just going to the gym. I'm not just going for this or that. I'm going to compete for the United States. And boy, what a feeling.
Our thanks this month to Jona Leo, Margaret Martinez, and Carly Jo Ellingson. We'll see you next time on Midco Sports Magazine.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.